Welcome to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast, a relaxing and informative show where we explore anxiety, panic, and PTSD, sharing how you can overcome them for life.
Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I am so happy to be with you again today as together we can consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I'm talking about transforming stress and anxiety by embracing feeling tones. Now, what do I mean by feeling tones? I'm talking about them here in line with Buddhist psychology. And in Buddhist psychology, feeling tones refer to the three basic categories of feelings or sensations that arise in us in response to our experiences. These feeling tones are considered fundamental elements of human experience. And by understanding them along the lines of the Buddhist path, we can be liberated from suffering. And isn't that what we're all looking to do? To be free from suffering. And I find this very helpful because it gives us another way of looking at our feelings, our sensations, our emotions, without attaching so much to them, so much meaning and struggle to them. So let's look at what the three feeling tones are. The first one is pleasant, and in the Pali language, that is called sukha. And this refers to feelings of pleasure, joy, or happiness that arise when we encounter something pleasant or desirable. And it can be triggered by various sensory experiences, such as seeing something that's beautiful, tasting delicious food, or hearing pleasant sounds. The second one is unpleasant, and in Pali that is called dukkha. And this category encompasses feelings of discomfort, pain, or suffering that tend to arise in response to unpleasant or undesirable experiences. It can be triggered by physical pain, emotional distress, or encountering something that we find displeasing. I think you guys know what I'm talking about here. And the third one is neutral. And in Pali, that's called adukkha amasukha. This is the neutral feeling tone, and it refers to experiences that are neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Often, this can be considered things that are mundane or ordinary. These experiences may not elicit strong emotional reactions that can include simple, daily, everyday activities. So according to Buddhist psychology, these feeling tones play a crucial role in shaping our mental and emotional states, as well as influencing our actions and our behaviors. And the core teaching is that attachment to pleasant feelings and aversion to unpleasant feelings are at the root cause of suffering, which is known as dukkha. So, suffering, the root cause, what they're saying here is our attachment to the pleasant feelings and our aversion to the unpleasant feelings is the root cause of this suffering. By understanding the impermanent and conditional nature of these feeling tones, we can aim to develop equanimity and cultivate a balanced, non-reactive mind. Now, you hear me talk all the time about getting to neutral, not having such strong reactions, by having responses instead of reactions. This is all in the same line. And mindfulness meditation is one of the practices that is commonly used in Buddhist psychology to develop awareness of the feeling tones. By observing these feelings without clinging to them or pushing them away, in other words, resisting them, we can gain insight into the nature of our experiences and gradually lessen the attachment and the aversion, leading to a more peaceful and liberated state of mind. I think that you can see how this would work with our stressful, fearful thoughts. We so want to push them away. Remember trying to push them underwater, like holding that beach ball under the water. It's a lot of work, and it doesn't work. It always backfires. And how we want to go for the good, the pleasant feelings. We get attached to them so that nothing else will do. We just want more and more and more of that. Both of those leading to the root cause of suffering. Learning to distinguish feeling tones can be very helpful in dealing with anxiety. Anxiety often arises from our habitual reactions to various experiences and the associated feeling tones. So by cultivating the awareness of the feeling tones, by actually being aware of them and considering them, we can gain a deeper understanding of the triggers and the patterns that contribute to our stress and anxiety. And here's how it can really be beneficial to you. You can gain increased self-awareness, recognizing the feeling tones that accompany anxious thoughts and situations allows us to become more self-aware. We identify then when anxiety is arising, and we understand how it relates to specific experiences. Self-awareness is so helpful when we are learning to come out of the wormhole. And by understanding these feeling tones, we can gain more self-awareness. We can learn also to break automatic patterns. Anxiety can be perpetuated by automatic and unconscious reactions to certain feeling tones. By becoming mindful of these patterns, we can interrupt the habit of reacting with the fear or the aversion, which can help to reduce the intensity of the stress and anxiety, keeping us further away from panic. We can gain more emotional regulation. When we can distinguish the feeling tones more clearly, we gain the ability to regulate our emotions more effectively. By understanding that the feelings are impermanent and subject to change, we can avoid getting caught in the cycle of anxious thoughts and emotional turbulence. The key word here is impermanent. We want to remember that these feeling tones continually change and that these things are impermanent. We don't need to be afraid that what we are feeling right now is what we are going to feel forever. And with anxiety, this is where we are, right? We don't have this emotional regulation. We think what we are feeling now is it. This is life. From here on out is this panicky feeling. No, everything changes. And by being in touch with these feeling tones, we can begin to gain the understanding of the impermanence and understand the subject of change that all of these feelings have. We also begin to develop more equanimity, which refers to maintaining a balanced and non-reactive mind. Regardless of the arising feeling tones, we can learn to be non-reactive. And we do this through mindfulness and understanding, again, impermanence. We can develop equanimity, which can lessen the impact of anxiety-provoking situations. Understanding the feeling tones also helps us to cultivate acceptance. By acknowledging and accepting different feeling tones, including those that are associated with discomfort and anxiety, we can develop a greater self-compassion and reduce our self-judgment. This kind of self-acceptance can help alleviate the additional stress we put on ourselves from feeling anxious about being anxious. We also will learn skillful responses. By distinguishing feeling tones, this can allow us to respond more skillfully to the anxiety-provoking situations. Instead of reacting impulsively or out of habit, we can take a moment to pause and choose a more constructive and calm response because we are understanding this is a feeling tone and we can learn to respond more slowly by taking the pause and choosing a more calm response. We can also reduce avoidance. We know that anxiety often leads to avoidance of certain situations or experiences. And by understanding the feeling tones and the underlying fears, we can gradually work on facing the situations in a more measured and courageous way, leading to personal growth and reduction in stress and anxiety. So incorporating mindfulness practices and meditation can be particularly valuable in developing the ability to distinguish these feeling tones. In our meditation, we can learn to tune into our feeling tones by consistently observing and understanding them. We gain a greater sense of mastery over our emotional experiences, and we find more peace in the face of the stress and anxiety that does arise. So I thought, let's do a short feeling tones meditation instruction here that you can add to your regular practice, because by giving the feeling tones, the label feeling tones can really help you. It removes the personalization of it all, and I hope this will be helpful for you. So let's tune in to our feeling tones. Whenever an experience comes to your awareness, you can look at it more deeply by acknowledging its feeling tone. Remember, feeling tones are not emotions. A feeling tone describes what you are experiencing as one of three things, as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. A feeling tone can be attached to anything that you perceive through your senses, including a thought. So by noticing the feeling tone, again, something that is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, you will continue to deepen your insight into the nature of your experience. So, here's how you can add this to your meditation, or do it now with me if you are in a safe and quiet space. Settle into a comfortable sitting posture. And as you allow yourself to let your eyes close or soften your gaze, focus on the sensations of the body breathing. Concentrate on the breath for the first few minutes, allowing yourself to drop into a state of grounded mindfulness. Just noticing the breath, the body breathing, breath coming in, breath going out. This is mindfulness. Include the whole body into your awareness. And spend a few minutes just noticing what arises in your body. Don't judge it as good or bad. Just pay attention to the actual experience of the feeling in the body, the experience of the feeling. Once you are present with the body and its sensations, expand your awareness to include the feeling tones. Again, those are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Acknowledge the feelings in the body and consider whether the experience of that feeling is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. If you like, you could do a whole body scan and notice the feeling tone for each place in the body. Like we start with the feet, you could ask yourself, is this pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? And after a few minutes, include the sense of hearing into your practice. As sound arrives in your awareness, note that you are hearing and observe the feeling tone. Is the experience of hearing pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Continue with awareness of the body and sound for a few minutes. And finally, after that, you can move into your thoughts. You don't need to dive into exactly what you are thinking, but simply recognize when a thought that arises is present, and if there is a feeling tone attached to it. A thought has arisen in the present moment. Is that experience pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Then open back up and wait for the next experience to arise. By resting in open mindfulness, you can leave space for mental wandering. And remember to always return to the breath as your anchor. Always come back to the breath. And don't hesitate to return to it, to collect yourself and your mind, and take a few breaths. And again, as things arise, whether it is in your body, in the body scan, in your hearing, or in your thoughts, are these experiences pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? At the end of your meditation, as always, take a few breaths, open your eyes, and give yourself a smile for taking the time to actually consider the feeling tones today that we talked about. Then moving through your day, see if you can notice feeling tones attached to things that you see throughout your day, hear throughout your day, feel throughout your day. Are these things pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? It's the tone of the experience. By learning to distinguish what they are, you are increasing your awareness and becoming extremely skillful in being able to be less attached to what you are thinking, feeling, hearing, or seeing. I hope that this will be as helpful for you as it has been for me, and I would love to hear from you. You can send email to anxietycoachespodcast@gmail.com. And now for today's quote. Meditation is not an escape. It is the courage to look at reality with mindfulness. And that's from Thich Nhat Hanh. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. Find more information at theanxietycoachespodcast.com.